Good morning slash afternoon slash evening. I want to start with the truth that we often avoid. Exhaustion isn't just about sleep. Burnout isn't just about work. And feeling empty isn't just about having too much on your plate. Sometimes what drains us most isn't what we do, it's what we carry. I'm talking about the weight that lives inside us, the quiet depletion that doesn't show up on our to-do list, but lingers in our thoughts, our relationships, and the way we talk to ourselves, the kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you have a beautiful hand-carved wooden boat. It's strong, sturdy, and built to last. You trust this boat to carry you across the water through calm and stormy seas alike. Now imagine there's a tiny leak. Just a few drops of water seeping in at a time. It's small, barely noticeable, not enough to slow you down, so you keep going. You tell yourself it's fine. You're busy navigating, steering, keeping everything and everyone afloat. But over time, those tiny drops add up. The boat gets heavier, you're working harder just to keep moving. Eventually, one day, you wake up and realize you're exhausted. Not because of one big storm, but because of a slow, silent leak that's been draining your strength all along. This is how we lose our energy, our joy, and sometimes even ourselves. Not in a dramatic, sudden way, but in the smallest, quietest ways that we often don't even recognize. What does a silent leak look like? It looks like saying yes when you really mean no, because you don't want to disappoint anyone. It looks like scrolling through social media late at night, feeling like everyone else is doing life better than you. It looks like convincing yourself that you'll rest after everything is done, but somehow everything is never done. It looks like carrying around old resentment, replaying conversations in your head that should have ended years ago. It looks like silencing your own needs because you don't want to feel selfish. And the thing is, none of these things seem big on their own. None of them feel like a crisis. But when you add them up day after day, they begin to drain you. They take away your energy, your clarity, and your sense of self without you even realizing it's happening. Why we ignore the leak, most of us don't recognize the slow leak in our souls because we're too busy dealing with everything else. Life is loud, responsibilities pile up, there are things to do, people to take care of, and expectations to meet. So when we feel drained, we assume it's just part of the deal. We tell ourselves, I just need a vacation. Maybe after this deadline, I'll feel better. It's just stress, it'll pass. But what if it's not just stress? What if the exhaustion you feel isn't because of a single overwhelming thing, but because of all the little ways you've been losing yourself along the way? How to find and fix the leak. The first step to reclaiming yourself is to get still. And I know that's hard. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, distractions, and never stopping. But here's the thing, you can't fix a leak if you're moving too fast to see where the water's coming in. So take a moment, breathe, ask yourself, where am I saying yes when I should be saying no? Where am I pouring out energy but receiving nothing back? What thoughts or habits are quietly draining me day after day? When was the last time I did something just for myself? Without guilt. Finding the leak isn't about overhauling your life overnight. It's about small, conscious shifts. It's about setting boundaries without apologizing. It's about resting without guilt. It's about reminding yourself that you are not a machine. You are a human being and you deserve to feel whole. So today, I want you to commit to one thing. Start noticing the leak, because awareness is where healing begins. If you've ever felt emotionally exhausted, drained, or just a little lost, you're not alone. But here's something I want you to think about. What if the exhaustion you feel isn't just from doing too much? What if it's because something or several things have been slowly stealing your energy, joy, and sense of self? These are the five thieves, five powerful forces that drain us, not in one dramatic moment, but in small, quiet ways over time. They don't just take from us, they convince us that giving them our time, attention, and emotional energy is necessary. And that's what makes them so dangerous. So let's talk about them. Let's name them. Because when we can name what's stealing from us, we have the power to take it back. One, comparison. The thief of joy. You wake up, grab your phone, and before you even get out of bed, you're scrolling. There's someone on a beach vacation. Someone else just bought a house. Someone is running a business while raising 3 kids and somehow still looks flawless. And just like that, the quiet whisper starts. You're behind. You should be doing more. Look at them. Why can't you get it together? Comparison is sneaky. It doesn't show up like an outright attack. It seeps in through the cracks of our self-worth. It makes us believe that happiness is a competition, that success is a race, and that someone else's good fortune somehow takes away from our own. And here's the worst part. The version of people we compare ourselves to, it's not even real. It's curated, filtered, edited. You're measuring your raw, unfiltered life against someone else's highlight reel, and that is a battle you will never win. Reclaim it. Start by recognizing when comparison is creeping in. Pay attention to how you feel when you scroll, when you hear about someone else's success, when you start questioning your own worth. And then remind yourself, there is no finish line. You are not behind. You are on your own path, and it is enough. 2, perfectionism. The unreachable standard, perfectionism wears a disguise. It pretends to be ambition, high standards, or just wanting to do your best. But underneath perfectionism is fear. Fear of making a mistake, fear of being judged, fear that if we're anything less than perfect, we won't be enough. Perfectionism convinces us that if we can just get everything exactly right, our work, our bodies, our parenting, our relationships, then we'll finally feel safe, worthy, and loved. But perfection is a moving target. The moment we reach it, the bar moves higher. And in chasing it, we don't just drain ourselves, we lose the very things that make life meaningful: creativity, connection, authenticity. Because here's the truth, the people who love you, they don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. Reclaim it. Let yourself be imperfect. Let yourself make mistakes, show up messy, and get things wrong. Your worth isn't based on how flawless you appear. It's in how fully you show up as yourself. 3, unresolved resentment, the weight we carry. Imagine carrying around a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Every day you wake up, put it on, and move through life. Some of those rocks are old betrayals. Some are words you never got an apology for. Some are things you wish you'd said but never did. Resentment doesn't just weigh us down, it keeps us tied to the very pain we want to move past. It convinces us that holding onto our anger will somehow make things right, that replaying the hurt over and over will give us closure. But in reality, it only drains us. Forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay, doesn't mean the other person deserves it. It means you deserve peace. Reclaim it. Ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer serves me? And then, little by little, begin to let it go. Not for them, for you, for constant busyness, the numbing distraction. We live in a culture that tells us our worth is in our productivity, that if we're not busy, we're falling behind. So we fill our days with more tasks, more commitments, more obligations. We say yes when we mean no. We sacrifice rest in the name of accomplishment. We wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. But here's the thing, Being busy is not the same as being fulfilled. Constant busyness doesn't just drain us, it keeps us distracted from the deeper questions we don't want to face. Am I happy? Am I living in alignment with what I truly want? Who am I outside of my to-do list? When we are constantly in motion, we never have to sit with ourselves. And that's why busyness is such an effective thief. It steals our energy while making us believe we're being productive. Reclaim it, slow down, take breaks without guilt, give yourself permission to do nothing. You don't have to earn rest, you deserve it simply because you are human. 5, take connection from self. The quietest loss, the most dangerous thief of all, the moment we lose touch with who we really are. It happens so slowly, so quietly, that we don't even notice. When we stop listening to our own intuition, when we prioritize everyone else's needs over our own, when we silence our true desires because we're afraid of disappointing others. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal. We think it's just easier this way. We tell ourselves we'll get back to what we want later, but later never comes. And then one day we wake up and realize we don't recognize ourselves anymore. Reclaim it. Come home to ask yourself, what do I truly want? What brings me joy, not because I should do it, but because it lights me up? Where have I been abandoning myself in order to keep the peace? And then start listening. Start saying yes to yourself again, the power of reclamation. These thieves don't take from us all at once. They do it gradually over time until one day we feel drained, disconnected, and unsure of how we got here. But here's the beautiful truth. Just as we can lose parts of ourselves, we can reclaim them. We reclaim them every time we choose joy over comparison, every time we embrace imperfection instead of chasing an impossible standard. Every time we forgive, slow down, and reconnect with our own hearts. So today, I want you to ask yourself, what has been stealing my energy, my joy, my peace? And more importantly, how can I take it back? Because your soul is worth protecting, and you are worth reclaiming. When we think about exhaustion, we often picture physical tiredness, the kind that comes from long hours, sleepless nights, and pushing ourselves too hard. But there's another kind of exhaustion, one that's harder to name. It's the feeling of waking up in the morning and already feeling empty. It's the quiet numbness that creeps in when life feels like an endless loop of responsibilities. It's the weight on your chest when you've spent too long carrying things you were never meant to hold. This is soul exhaustion, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly, silently, as the 5 thieves drain you drop by drop until one day you realize you have nothing left to give. The cost of this, it's higher than we think, because when we live drained, we don't just suffer in small ways, we suffer in deep, life-altering ways. Let's talk about the heavy toll. 1, you become a stranger to yourself when we constantly give our energy away, whether to perfectionism, resentment, or busyness. We start to lose touch with who we actually are. The things that once brought you joy, they feel distant, like memories of someone you used to be. The dreams you once had, they seem unrealistic, impractical, something you no longer have time for. The voice inside you, the one that once knew what you wanted, what you needed, starts to get quieter and quieter. And so until one day you realize you're living a life that doesn't quite feel like your own. You're meeting expectations, checking boxes, fulfilling roles, but you're not living. You're just getting through it. This is one of the heaviest costs of soul exhaustion. Losing the most important relationship you have, the one with yourself. 2, acceptance is you calling sick instead of fulfilled. Ask someone how they're doing, and chances are they'll say, I'm fine. Not great, not joyful, not alive with purpose, just fine. We convince ourselves that fine is normal, that we should be grateful, that this is just how life is supposed to feel. But fine is not the goal. You were never meant to live a life that just feels okay. But when we're drained, we don't have the energy to dream bigger. We don't have the strength to ask ourselves, what do I really want? We stay stuck not because we love where we are, but because we're too exhausted to imagine something different. That's what soul exhaustion does. It keeps us in survival mode. And the longer we stay there, the harder it is to believe we deserve more. 3, your relationships suffer, even the ones that matter most. When we're running on empty, we don't just lose connection with ourselves, we lose connection with the people we love. We become shorter with our words, less patient, less present. We nod along in conversations but aren't really listening. We're physically there, but emotionally, we feel miles away. And the worst part, the people who love us the most, our partners, our children, our closest friends, are the ones who feel it first. Because when your soul is drained, you don't have the capacity to show up fully for others. You start saying things like, I just need a break. I don't have the energy for this right now. I love you, but I just feel so exhausted. And slowly, the people we love start to feel like they're getting the scraps of us, the leftover energy, the distracted presence, the half-hearted I'm fine. And we don't mean to withdraw. We don't mean to disconnect, but when we're exhausted at our core, even love feels like another thing we have to do rather than something we get to feel. 4, you lose your sense of wonder, joy, and creativity. Think back to when you were a kid. Remember what it felt like to get lost in something, to play, to dream, to create, not for a purpose, not for productivity, but just because it lit you up. When was the last time you felt that? One of the heaviest tolls of soul exhaustion is that it steals our joy. It makes life feel transactional. Work, pay bills, take care of responsibilities, repeat, and somewhere along the way we forget how to have fun, we forget how to laugh, really laugh, we forget how to create, to play, to do something simply for the love of it, because exhaustion makes everything feel like work, even the things that once made us feel alive. Reclaiming joy isn't just about having fun, it's about remembering what it feels like to truly be present in your own life. 5, your body starts sending you warning signs. Soul exhaustion doesn't just affect how we feel emotionally, it shows up in our bodies too. Constant fatigue, even after a full night's sleep, headaches, body aches, tension that won't go away, brain fog, forgetfulness, feeling like you're in a haze, anxiety, irritability, or a short temper over the smallest things. Our bodies are always talking to us. And when we don't listen, they get louder. That tension in your shoulders, it's not just stress. It's a sign you've been carrying too much. That feeling of exhaustion, it's not laziness. It's your body begging you to slow down. That constant sense of overwhelm, it's not just life being busy, it's your soul telling you something needs to change. But the problem is, we often wait until we're completely burned out before we listen. And by then, the damage is already done. The cost of living drained. So let's be honest. This exhaustion, this numbness, this feeling of running on fumes, it's not just how life is. It's not just part of being an adult. It's not normal. It's a sign that something needs to change, that something has to change. Because the truth is, we can't keep living like this. We can't keep pouring from an empty cup. We can't keep giving away pieces of ourselves until there's nothing left. Your joy matters. Your peace matters. Your wholeness matters. And the beautiful thing, you don't have to stay here. Reclaiming what's been lost. The first step to healing soul exhaustion is admitting it's there. It's looking at your life not with guilt, not with shame, but with honesty. And then asking yourself, where have I been giving too much? What parts of me have I been neglecting? What do I need to reclaim to feel whole again? Because here's the truth. You don't have to settle for survival. You don't have to stay numb. You don't have to live exhausted. You are worthy of more. You are worthy of rest, of joy, of peace, and you have the power to take it back. If there's one thing I know to be true, it's this: reclaiming yourself, your time, your energy, your joy is not easy. It takes courage to admit you've been running on empty. It takes courage to say, I can't keep living like this. It takes courage to make a change. Because here's the thing, soul exhaustion doesn't just drain us, it convinces us that this is just how life is supposed to be. It whispers, this is normal, everyone feels this way, you should be grateful, just push through. But today, I want to challenge that. I want to invite you to step into something deeper. I want to remind you that you have the right to take your life back. And to do that, you're going to need courage. The courage to say enough. The first step in reclaiming yourself is simply this: deciding that you are no longer willing to live drained. That might sound simple, but it's actually one of the hardest things to do, because the moment you decide you deserve more rest, more joy, more ease, there will be resistance. Resistance from the world, which tells you that productivity is the highest virtue, that success requires sacrifice, that exhaustion is a badge of honor. Resistance from the people around you who may not understand why you're setting new boundaries or making changes. And most of all, resistance from within yourself. Because part of you has been conditioned to believe that slowing down means you're falling behind, that resting means you're lazy, that prioritizing your own needs means you're selfish. But let me tell you something. You are not selfish for wanting to feel alive again. You are not lazy for needing rest. You are not weak for choosing peace over burnout. It is not selfish to take care of yourself. It is necessary. And it takes courage to say, I am done living exhausted. I refuse to let my energy be stolen any longer. I choose to reclaim my joy. The courage to set boundaries. Reclaiming yourself means learning to say no. And that is hard. Because if you've spent your whole life being the dependable one, the responsible one, the one who always says yes, then setting boundaries will feel uncomfortable. But here's the truth. Every yes you give away is a no to yourself. Saying yes to staying late at work, that's a no to your own rest. Saying yes to taking on responsibilities that aren't yours, that's a no to your own priorities. Saying yes to relationships that drain you, that's a no to the space you need to heal. And this isn't about shutting people out. This isn't about becoming selfish. This is about making room for yourself in your own life. Setting boundaries is an act of self-respect. It is saying, I am worthy of protecting my energy. It is saying, I will no longer overextend myself just to keep the peace. It is saying my well-being matters and I will honor that. It takes courage to enforce boundaries. Some people won't like it. Some people will push back. But let me tell you this, the people who truly love you, they will respect you for it. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries, they will be the loudest complainers. And that is all the proof you need that setting boundaries is the right choice, the courage to rest without guilt. Somewhere along the way, we learn that rest is something we have to earn. We say things like, I'll rest when the work is done. I'll take a break once I've checked everything off my list. I can't slow down. There's too much to do. But here's the thing. The work will never be done. The list will never be empty. There will always be something pulling at your time and attention. And if you keep waiting for the right time to rest, you will never rest. So let me give you permission right now to rest, simply because you are human. You don't have to wait until you're burnt out. You don't have to deserve rest by overworking yourself first. You don't have to feel guilty for taking time to breathe. Rest is not a luxury. Rest is not a weakness. Rest is required for you to be your fullest, most alive self. It takes courage to step away. It takes courage to say, I am not available for burnout. It takes courage to prioritize yourself in a world that profits off your exhaustion. But when you do, you start to reclaim the energy, clarity, and joy that was stolen from you. The courage to listen to yourself again. When was the last time you asked yourself what you truly want? Not what your job expects, not what your family needs, not what society says you should be doing, but what you, deep down in your soul, actually desire. One of the biggest costs of soul exhaustion is that we stop listening to ourselves. We become so consumed by external expectations that we lose sight of our own inner voice. And over time, that silence, it becomes normal. But part of reclaiming yourself is tuning back in, is asking, what lights me up? What do I crave more of in my life? What do I need to release in order to feel whole again? It takes courage to listen to your own heart, because once you hear it, you can't unhear it. Once you know what you truly want, you can't pretend you don't. And that's when the real work begins, the courage to choose yourself over and over again. This journey of reclaiming yourself, it's not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice, a constant choice. The choice to slow down when the world tells you to hurry up. The choice to rest when everything in you feels guilty for it. The choice to say no when you've spent your whole life saying yes. The choice to listen to your own needs even when others don't understand. And some days you'll get it wrong. Some days you'll fall back into old habits. Some days exhaustion will creep back in. That's okay. That's part of it, because every day you have the opportunity to choose again. To wake up and say, today I will protect my energy. Today I will honor what I need. Today I will reclaim my joy, my peace, my soul. Not perfectly, not all at once, but courageously. You are worth reclaiming. So let me leave you with this. Your soul, your energy, your joy, it is worth protecting. It is worth fighting for. And most of all, it is worth reclaiming, not next year, not someday, now. And it starts with the courage to say, I am done living drained. I am ready to take my life back. I am choosing myself because I am worth it. And let me tell you, you are. We've talked about the ways your soul gets drained. We've uncovered the thieves that steal your energy, your joy, and your sense of self. We've faced the heavy toll of exhaustion, how it disconnects you from yourself, your dreams, and the people you love. But here's the beautiful truth. You can take it back. You can reclaim what was lost. You can restore what has been taken from you. You can step back into your own life, not as a bystander, not as someone just trying to get through the day, but as someone who is fully alive. But here's the thing, reclamation isn't just about knowing what's wrong. It's about choosing actively and intentionally to take back what belongs to you. So today, I want to walk you through 5 acts of reclamation, 5 things you can do starting now to reclaim your soul, your energy, and your joy. These aren't quick fixes. They aren't Band-Aids for deep wounds. They are acts of courage, acts of self-respect, acts of taking back what is rightfully yours. One, and reclaim your time, own your hours, own your life. Let's start with something simple, but life-changing. Your time belongs to you, but if we're honest, most of us don't live like that. We give our time away to things we don't actually care about. We say yes when we really mean no. We fill every available moment with work, obligations, and other people's priorities until there's nothing left for ourselves. And then we wonder why we feel drained. But here's the truth. If you don't take ownership of your time, someone else will. So how do we reclaim it? Audit your time. Look at where your hours are going, what's draining you, what's feeding you, what needs to go. Stop saying yes out of guilt. Every yes should be a conscious choice, not an automatic response. Create sacred time for yourself. Block out time for rest, creativity, joy, things that make you feel alive. Set a no explanation boundary. You don't owe people a detailed reason for protecting your time. A simple, I'm not available for that is enough. When you reclaim your time, you reclaim your life. 2, reclaim your boundaries, protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. You've heard this before, but it's worth repeating. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. And if you're feeling constantly drained, it's time to ask, where am I overextending myself? Where am I saying yes out of fear, guilt, or obligation? Where am I tolerating things that don't serve me? Setting boundaries isn't about being selfish. It's about self-respect. It's about deciding I will no longer allow my energy to be stolen. How do we reclaim our boundaries? Get clear on what is no longer acceptable. What's draining you? What patterns need to stop? Practice saying no without guilt. Your energy is precious. Not everyone deserves access to it. Set limits on emotional labor. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions at the expense of your own well-being. Stop explaining yourself. A boundary is a statement, not a debate. When you reclaim your boundaries, you send a message to yourself and to the world that your energy is valuable, and that changes everything. 3, reclaim your joy. Prioritize what makes you feel alive. Remember joy, not just contentment. Not just things are fine, but joy, the kind that makes you feel alive, the kind that makes time disappear, the kind that fills your soul instead of draining it. The problem is when we're exhausted, joy is the first thing to go. We convince ourselves that we don't have time for it, that we'll get to it later, but joy isn't optional. Joy isn't extra. Joy is fuel. Without it, we're just going through the motions. So how do we reclaim it? Identify what truly brings you joy. Not what used to, not what should, what actually lights you up. Make time for it non-negotiable. Schedule it like you schedule work because it is essential work. Stop waiting for permission. You don't need to deserve joy. You don't need to earn fun. It is your birthright. Let go of productivity guilt. You are allowed to do things for the sheer pleasure of them. You are allowed to enjoy your life. When you reclaim your joy, you remember why you're here, not just to work, not just to check boxes, but to live. 4, reclaim your voice, speak your truth even when it's hard. How many times have you silenced yourself, swallowed your feelings to keep the peace, bit your tongue to avoid conflict, diminished your needs so you wouldn't be too much? Every time we do this, we shrink. Every time we do this, we abandon ourselves a little more. Reclaiming your voice is about saying, my needs matter. My feelings are valid. My truth is worth speaking. It's about standing firm in who you are, even when it's uncomfortable. How do we reclaim our voice? Start small. Speak up in the little moments before tackling the big ones. Practice self-expression. Journal, sing, create. Find ways to release what's inside you. Stop apologizing for taking up space. You are not too much. You are not difficult. You are allowed to exist fully. Surround yourself with people who respect your voice. If someone repeatedly dismisses your truth, that's not your space. When you reclaim your voice, you reclaim your power. 5, Reclaim your rest. Allow yourself to breathe again. Rest is not a reward. Rest is not something you have to deserve. Rest is a necessity. But somewhere along the way, we learned to equate exhaustion with success. We started measuring our worth by our productivity. And now we feel guilty for resting. We feel lazy for slowing down. But here's the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Your best work, your best love, your best self, it all comes from a place of being whole. And to be whole, you must rest. How do we reclaim it? Create a rest ritual. Whether it's a slow morning, a quiet evening, or a midday pause, make it sacred. Disconnect, step away from screens, emails, expectations. Let your mind breathe. Release the guilt. Rest is productive. Rest is healing. Rest is your right. Listen to your body. If it's telling you to slow down, trust it. When you reclaim your rest, you reclaim your life force. Reclamation is a revolution. Taking back what was stolen from you, that's a radical act. Choosing yourself, that's a revolution. But here's the most important part. You don't have to do it all at once. Pick one thing, one act, one choice. Start there. And little by little, choice by choice, you will come back home to yourself, because you were never meant to live drained. You were never meant to live numb. You were meant to live fully, freely, and wholly alive. And that journey starts today. Not just functional, not just fine, not just surviving, but whole. Wholeness is not perfection. It's not about having every piece of your life figured out, every wound healed, every insecurity erased. No. Wholeness is something deeper, something richer, something unshakable. Wholeness is the ability to stand in your own truth without needing validation from the outside world. It's knowing that you are worthy, not because of what you accomplish, not because of how much you give, but simply because you exist. It's being fully present in your own life, connected, engaged, and unapologetically you. But here's the thing about wholeness. Most of us have spent years, sometimes our entire lives, believing we are not enough. We've been told directly or indirectly that in order to be valuable, in order to be lovable, we must be something more productive, more successful, more likable, more available to everyone else. And so we spend our days chasing, proving, performing, trying to fill a void that was never really ours to carry. And in the process, we lose pieces of ourselves. We become fragmented. We give away our time, our energy, our identity, until we are left feeling empty, disconnected, exhausted. But here's the truth. You were never meant to live in pieces. You were meant to be whole. And today, we're going to talk about how to reclaim that one, the lie of not enough, why we feel disconnected from ourselves. At some point in your life, maybe when you were young, maybe just yesterday, you received a message that said, you are not enough as you are. Maybe it came from a parent who made their love feel conditional. Maybe it came from a culture that glorifies hustle over happiness. Maybe it came from a world that measures worth in likes, titles, and productivity. And so you started performing, you started proving, you started shaping yourself into what you thought you needed to be in order to be accepted. But here's the problem. Every time we shape-shift for approval, we lose a part of ourselves. Every time we silence our needs to fit in, we fracture. Every time we ignore our inner voice to meet external expectations, we abandon ourselves. And over time, this becomes, we forget what it even feels like to be whole. But let me remind you, you are not broken. You are not missing pieces. You are still whole. You just need to come back to yourself. And that starts with rejecting the lie that says, I must be more in order to be worthy, because you are already enough. You always have been. 2, reclaiming your identity, remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. One of the biggest barriers to wholeness is the simple fact that we forget ourselves. We spend so much time playing roles, caretaker, leader, fixer, provider, that we lose sight of the person beneath it all. So let me ask you this. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Before the pressure to be responsible, before the need to please everyone else, before the exhaustion of living up to impossible expectations? Who were you when you were still fully yourself? Reclaiming your wholeness means reconnecting with that person. What did you love? Not what was useful or productive, but what made your soul come alive. What did you dream about? Not what was realistic, not what was practical, but what felt like magic. What parts of yourself have you buried to make others comfortable, because those parts still belong to you, and wholeness is about bringing them back. 3, the power of integration, making space for every part of you. Here's something no one tells you. Wholeness is